Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 153rd episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So while the term or even idea of underground hip-hop can be pretty all-encompassing and meet a plethora of different definitions, I've been vocal in the past about my disdain for this trend of opium fanboys who designate kids with like 3 million followers as underground. Frankly, I think the idea that anyone even somewhat affiliated with that label being underground is kind of ridiculous. I mean, even Playboy Cardi himself wasn't underground back in like 2016 or 17 when me and my friends listened to him. Of course, being somewhat unknown isn't the end goal or ultimate achievement for rap music. I just genuinely think that a lot of people who consider what they listen to as, oh, this is so different, you don't even know all this weird shit I'm into, are the same ones who will get 5 seconds into an MC Paul Barman song and say, what the hell is this? His voice is so unbearable. And I'm telling you right now, if you've never heard of this guy, his voice is definitely unlike anything else you've heard in hip hop. And you're probably either going to love it or despise it instantly, as even I can admit, I don't think this was one artist where I heard them on a feature, then instantly went to check out everything he ever did. I remember the first time I'd ever heard of MC Paul Barman, I kind of forgot about him after a while, and then I heard him again on a different collaboration. And then when I went back to his various collaborations with Open Mike Eagle, his verses really started to pique my interest, especially the one that the two did with R.A.P. Ferreira, who at the time went by the name Milo. Born in Ridgewood, New Jersey, Paul Barman was first introduced to hip hop fans through a number of legendary names that he worked with, like Masta Ace, Deltron 3030, and first and foremost, Prince Paul. Paul had already proven himself as one of the most influential producers alive through his work with De La Soul or Gravediggaz. But with MC Paul Barman, he received a vinyl in the mail with a demo, which he instantly saw the potential in. And to paraphrase from one of the episodes of Open Mike Eagles podcast that he did with Prince Paul, it sparked the idea of marketing the other Paul as sort of the voice for white kids who love hip hop, but may be from a different background than what we traditionally assume a rapper to be of. However, according to Prince Paul, Barman was less than receptive to this idea of being the quote unquote king of the nerds and was offended by the notion that he was any sort of geek. One could say that this resistance to being packaged in a certain way prevented him from getting to a higher level of fame, but on the other hand, I could understand why he wouldn't want to be put in that specific box. Really, I would argue that the content itself isn't all that nerdy. The only reason words like that are thrown around sometimes when it comes to MCPB is something you probably get if you've heard any of his music before. It's the love or hate element of his work because he's really the single white rapper that I know of who doesn't, for a lack of better term, try to sound black. And take that phrase with a grain of salt because I don't mean it as an insult to other white rappers. I myself fall under that category. It's just a subconscious choice that we all make when you're finding your rap voice. The thing with Paul Barman is he quite literally is a lyrical genius, and his knack for obscure references to make rhyme schemes you'd never consider provide a unique contrast with content that's arguably more filthy and overtly sexual than any gangster rap. It's also why he's so well respected by fellow pioneers like MF Doom, someone Paul collaborated with multiple times, and actually does some of the production on Paul's debut full length here. Paul had already done the It's Very Stimulating EP with Prince Paul a couple years earlier, but Paullelujah was his first full length studio album and featured a much longer and thorough experience. Though I would highly recommend checking out the aforementioned tape, as it has some of the most essential Paul Barman tracks. One reason I don't even remotely hesitate when using the word genius with Barman is because he's the only rapper I'm personally aware of to put extended palindromes in his music. At least one of which I'm aware of appears on this album through the song Bleeding Brain Grow. If you aren't aware, a palindrome is a phrase or group of words that can be read backwards the same way that you read it forwards, which Barman executes using a myriad of rapper names. both contemporary and more underground. That's an achievement within itself, but those little seeds he plants in the garden of rhymes that he nurtures are a perfect example of how you often get rewarded as a listener when you scratch past the surface, especially with writers who take such studied and poetic approaches to the craft. Really, while I can't do his delivery justice, I have to share some of his iconic lines to give you a sense of what we're dealing with here, so I'm gonna go with what's probably the funniest and most referential song Barman's penned, which is titled Cock Mobster. Obviously, the title is a play on B-52's Rock Lobster, but unlike that song, this one is as straightforward with its concept as it could possibly be, which point blank is just MC Paul Barman describing the unholy sexually deviant acts he'd perform on a litany of female celebrities, which now that I think of it, might have also played a factor in this guy not exactly becoming a household name. Cock Mobster is front to back hilarity, and I think alongside I'm Frickin' Awesome, it's a great starting song to kind of test the waters and see if this sense of humor matches yours the way it does mine. Keep in mind this is obviously a ridiculous song idea that came from 2002, and considering Paul Barman has a track where he raps from the point of view of a girl who wants to have sex with him, this is kinda just the world that this scientist lives in. And the real flex of the song is him showing all the impressive rhymes he can come up with for all these famous girls he's attracted to. For example, he gives us, I let my hair air dry, thereby getting more hair pie. I wanna fire blanks and Tyra Banks. I like short, grim lasses and horn-rimmed glasses, but Cindy Crawford offered. I would keep a tidy room for Heidi Klum. I'm immersed in Kirstie Alley's thirsty valley. I would snore or sleep on Laura Prepon. Shall I keep on? I'd feel the pubis of Mila Kunis. I've seen the trim of Tina M. I'd crunch Tandy Newton like a candied crouton, and I'd disrobe Lisa Loeb. I want a smelly slice of Kelly Price. I think you get the point. But overtly sexual innuendos aside, I want to share a verse from a different song on this LP that shows his raw MCing skills. And I think a perfect representative for Paullelujah is on the track Old Paul, which has a killer intro to it. Barman is already rhyming in this short beginning section. He just delivers it in a more regular talking voice like you may hear on your typical Wu-Tang album or skit. Normally the lyrics of this part of a song would be kind of irrelevant, but I just love these lines too much to let them go unmentioned. These are when Paul says, man, I remember freezy freakies, trying to do illustrations for cheesy weeklies. Everything was peachy keen until I developed that Nietzsche spleen. I'm gonna take a lackadaisical ride on my back in the daysicle. But it's within this first verse that he gives some really good counterpoints to his critics within the hip-hop community, like when he says, it's pure and simple edutainment. Rap needed an SG Paul B, so I became it. At a faster pace, left the past erased, met Master Ace just south of Astor Place. If it's not hip-hop, is it the opposite? Rap is scary, about to go pop a zit or bust a capillary. But I'm not a square, I'm the monolith, the guy your girl got in the sauna with, yet completely alone in the hairiest industry known. Besides the mafia, my beeper fell off the belt loop under the train. I destroyed my cell phone because I self-own. He also has an insanely ahead of his time bar on this album where he talks about how it's corny and misinformed to label everything that's remotely inclusive or non-derogatory as PC, when it's really just common decency. The fact this dude was giving us lines in 2002 like, if someone uses a non-offensive vocabulary, then that person is considerate, not PC, isn't just a testament to how forward-thinking and groundbreaking he was, it also goes to show just how kind of meaningless those words are when you use them as insults. While there aren't features on this thing, there are a handful of talented producers that contribute, a couple of which I already mentioned, like Prince Paul or Doom. However, we also get some instrumentals from names like Mike the Music Guy, who did the bulk of the beats here, as well as Fofo and MC Paul Barman himself. I think I'll get my three favorite tracks out of the way first for this one, those being Cock Mobster, Bleeding Brain Grow, and Anarchist Bookstore Part 1. For honorable mentions, I'd probably have to go with the title track, Excuse You, Vulture Shark Sculpture Park, Kibutznik, Senioritis 2010, Anarchist Bookstore Part 2, A Somewhat New Medium, Make No Mistake, and Buy Low, Sell High. Thank you for watching my 153rd video. We only have a couple more classics left for this set of 2000s albums, so check in next time to see what my second to last choice is for this group. And if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite songs are off this lyrical mastermind's full-length debut. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.
Who would do such a thing? Look, I stand in the flame of a feeling we call pain.